Hello, I am Examo Games and today I want to talk to you about my two favourite survival games, Valheim and 7 Days to Die. They're similar enough to compare but different enough that each does certain things brilliantly. I've already done general gameplay tips for each that you can check out on my channel and I've spent a lot of time on both, so let's see how they compare in each of the following categories: combat, crafting, building, food, health and stamina, exploration, biome progression, base defense, enemies, and endgame. What's that? Tell them about Discord? Oh, okay, fine. Quickly though. Yes, I have a Discord up and running if you wanted to chat through any of these games, ask me any questions, suggest video games or ideas I could try, anything really. The link is in the description. Okay, now that's done, let's get on with the list. Combat. 7 Days to Die handles this a bit whack-a-mole, or can I one-shot stagger or cripple the zombie before they hit me? At least one-shot power attacks are satisfying with the squelch of a zombie's death. Guns and explosives are awesome, they naturally always are, but higher difficulty zombies can turn into bullet sponges quickly. Valheim, however, handles combat with excellence. It genuinely feels like a battle. Being able to block, parry and dodge roll adds more player skill elements to a fight and encourages you to counter rather than using pure offense. Magic is fun, but it could be better in my opinion. More staffs or even a spellcasting element would be great. Crafting. 7 Days to Die is superb, exquisite. There's so many items to loot and resources that are required to craft stuff that very little tends to just take up space in your storage and ends up useless, if you spend a good amount of time crafting or scrapping where stuff isn't needed anymore. You might not need iron poles or headlights anymore, but at least you can scrap them for iron. The game encourages you to search everything everywhere if it means you might find something important like glue or mechanical parts. There's hardly any room for improvement here, but if I had to ask for something, it would be for specific loot or materials found within specific POIs, as nothing is a guaranteed find in this game. It should make me want to target exact POIs to find key items. Valheim feels a bit basic in comparison to 7 Days to Die with crafting. It's not bad per se, but a lot of resources have very limited use and you quickly end up with too much of some stuff that you hardly ever need. Like, I find myself constantly throwing items on the ground when I'm out and about because I don't need any more resin or grey dwarf eyes. Please. Both games have similar forge smelting systems, but it would be good in Valheim to be able to put more items in the forge and smelters to break them down. Like, I don't know, smelting grey dwarf eyes or wolf pelts to make shards you can craft into iron, bronze, copper, etc. That sort of thing would be nice. At least we have the obliterator to turn unwanted items into coal. Building. 7 Days to Die has that Minecraft-esque style in that it's blocky, but it works fine in simple terms. It can be a bit encumbersome when trying to build certain defenses and a block space is occupied already and you're left with a gap somewhere. That would probably be my only small critique. There isn't much else to say here. Valheim, on the other hand, is tremendous. The best building system I've ever seen in a video game. Building blocks can be placed anywhere and aren't dictated by block spaces. They can even overlap and grow through each other, so you don't have to worry about two block pieces colliding. This is especially good when your roof and upper levels need more support so it doesn't collapse. The snapping point system is genius, so that if you want two items to line up perfectly, they can just snap in place. Honestly, I'd buy the person who came up with this as many custard creams as they wanted. Fantastic job, sir and or madam. Food, health and stamina. 7 Days to Die's food system feels monotonous. You might as well have an alarm bell that says, "Time to take your medicine," because mostly that's all food does. Chicken coops are very new but are at least challenging this with added bonuses, and that's where they should lean into with other foods too. I'll be more inclined to make more complex meals if it means I get a melee damage boost or something. Otherwise, I'm just making boiled meat in honesty. Valheim's food system dictates your health and stamina. At first I thought it was terrible, but there is a quiet brilliance behind it, and that the specific food you eat directly affects your max health and stamina at the time. If you allow your food to drain, you go back to the standard 25 health and 50 stamina, no matter what your skill or progression is in game. This gives you a direct reason to not only keep eating, but also to seek out better meals to increase the maximum values. There is a timer on food you eat that starts depleting, and your health and stamina eventually drains back to 25 and 50 accordingly. The meals could last a bit longer though. Early game eating every 5 minutes is annoying. Exploration. 7 Days to Die is a bit of a mixed bag. You can find a town or city in any biome, and if you do, including a decently placed trader, then you've honestly got no real need to go much further, depending on if you play with loot respawn on or off anyway. There isn't any real reason to move into more difficult biomes other than to simply challenge yourself and force more difficult zombies to spawn with a higher game stage. Valheim, on the other hand, is superb again. You're encouraged to go far and wide to not only seek out other biomes, but to find burial chambers, copper ores, tin deposits, swamp crypts, the list goes on. The game has portals too, so if you get really far from home, you can get home in an instant. Vikings were known for their exploration, and the developers of Valheim leaned into that heavily, and rewards players in doing so. Biome Progression. 7 Days to Die, I mean, if I'm being honest, it falls flat here. Like I said, besides challenging yourself, there's no real need. A lot of players avoid the wasteland, snow and desert biomes because of either there's too many zombies or there's annoying zombies. Plague spitters in the desert are a big nuisance, and the snow biome has annoyingly tall finance bros in gilets that won't stop throwing rocks at you. And no, that isn't code for a wild Thursday night after work in London. You could honestly just set up shop and stay in the pine forest that is the first biome. There's no penalty for staying here and not going to other biomes. Valheim, on the other hand, again nails this aspect. As in the last point about exploration, the players are rewarded for moving into higher difficulty biomes with biome exclusive loot, and the difficulty jump is very noticeable. Each time you defeat a biome boss and move into the next one, it becomes apparent very quickly that you're vulnerable and want to make the next tier armors, foods and weapons to defend yourself. 10 out of 10. Well done, Valheim, I'm proud of you. Base defense. 7 Days to Die has its turn getting this aspect right with Horde Nights. You can change the frequency or turn them off altogether if you want, but the default being every 7 days facing a massive horde of zombies gives you a timer to constantly work with and being properly prepared for the big fight. Classic tower defense game mode. Valheim doesn't have Horde Nights, but instead, your base gets raided. There is a small number of defenses you can use, like spike walls or just upgrading your outer walls to stone. Where you'd normally fight between 1 and 5 enemies at once while adventuring, a raid turns it into 1 versus 15 or so, and the more you kill, the more spawn. Enemies. 7 Days to Die offers a variety of zombies varying in speed, mobility, armor, or special attacks. You've got the average run-of-the-mill zombies like Arlene or the skinny twig dude. Mo, or as I like to call him Mosef, is slower. And then there are bulky armored zombies like the biker or army soldier. Special attack zombies are those which do more than just whack you, like cops that spit acid, plague spitters that spit bees, and so on. What this game lacks entirely, however, is boss entities. Horde Nights are your boss battles, and it's purely a matter of volume, but I think this game would benefit greatly from bosses and mini-bosses. Valheim does boss battles fantastically. Each biome has a boss of its own that you need to defeat and get a special loot drop in order to start you along in the next biome. You're incentivized to conquer each biome. In terms of other enemies, biomes have unique challenges with your standard enemies like grey dwarfs, skeletons or wolves, and offers more challenging ones like trolls, bears, abominations, etc. They also have specific strengths and weaknesses, so if you know them well enough, you know what to use against them for an added advantage. We could use a wider variety though, it gets same old pretty quickly. Endgame. 7 Days to Die unfortunately falls flat. Endgame sort of peters out once you have collected tier 6 of the best loot items. You work hard to get steel grade tools, weapons and a bucket full of ammo and supplies, and then just sort of ask yourself, what now? Valheim, on the other hand, leaves you with a real sense of accomplishment. When you've beaten the boss of each biome, you can look proudly at your trophy wall at the starting point, or you may even do this as part of your base design too. The challenges you overcome allow you to tell a story of your character and what you've been through, so that when you decide to retire a current world and start over, you feel like you're doing it because you've achieved all you wanted out of it, and not because you feel like something is missing at the end and there is little else to do. Now, I've deliberately not picked an overall favourite because honestly, I don't think there needs to be one. They're two of my favourite survival games for completely different reasons, and if I could combine the best aspects of both, I think we'd have a near perfect survival crafting game. But I'm genuinely interested. If you've played both, which one does each category better? And if you've only played one, did anything I say make you want to try the other? It's a joy and privilege to create content for you all. Thank you for the support always. If you'd like to see more, I have videos for both of these games on my channel as playlists. I'd recommend giving them a watch.